When's the last time you smoked weed?
I blew zero, so now you're trying to think I smoke weed. That's what's going on. You can't do that, man. You really can't do that.
Absolutely I can.
Ever felt like you couldn't trust the very people meant to protect you? Well, get ready for a wild ride as we dive into a story where a clever suspect exposes shady cops. How much will they risk to uncover the truth? Let's find out. Starting with the case of Police Chief Michael Caccini, it's a classic tale of power gone wrong. Here's what went down. On a seemingly ordinary day on September 17, 2022, Caccini decided to throw his weight around with a couple of kids, Parker Whalen and Travis Crin. Now, these kids were just having some harmless fun, but Caccini saw fit to hassle them for disturbing the peace. Little did he know he was about to face off against a duo who knew their rights better than he knew the back of his own hand. You see, Caccini thought he could bully these teens into submission. He even resorted to physical violence, hitting Travis with a flashlight and ordering them to leave. Talk about abuse of power. But here's the thing, Travis knew the law, and he knew Caccini had crossed a line. So instead of running away in fear, they stood their ground, refusing to budge until real cops showed up. But Caccini wasn't done playing dirty. He whipped out his badge, thinking it would scare the kids into submission. Little did he know these teens weren't about to be intimidated by a corrupt cop. They knew Caccini was the one breaking the law, not them. And just when you think it couldn't get any worse, Caccini pulls a stunt straight out of a bad cop movie. He tries to provoke the boys into attacking him, all so he can have something to show the real police when they arrive. But these kids were too smart for that. They whipped out their phones and recorded the whole thing, catching Caccini red-handed. When backup finally arrived, Caccini's bravery just vanished. Suddenly, he wasn't so tough anymore. But here's where it gets even crazier. Caccini tried to spin a tale to cover up his tracks. He claimed he was just a humble off-duty cop minding his own business at home when he heard these boys causing a ruckus and wrecking the neighborhood. He says he tried to reason with them, but they threatened him, so he had to step in. But his version of events didn't quite match up with reality. Luckily, the teens had their own evidence to set the record straight. Now, you'd think that would be the end of it, but nope, not for Caccini. Instead of facing the consequences for his own misconduct, he tries to turn the tables and get these guys charged. Talk about nerves. But justice, guys, is a sweet, sweet thing. Instead of slapping cuffs on the innocent kids, Caccini found himself on the wrong side of the law. He was hit with assault and battery charges, and just like that, he was out of a job, no longer the big shot police chief of Bay City. So, what can we learn from this? For starters, power doesn't give you a free pass to trample on people's rights. Just because you wear a badge doesn't mean you're above the law. And when push comes to shove, it's the truth that'll set you free. But here's the real question. How many other cases like this are out there? How many corrupt cops are getting away with abusing their power because their victims don't have the means or the courage to fight back? It's a sad thought, but it's also a reminder that we can't afford to turn a blind eye to justice. Whether it's recording encounters with police or speaking out against abuse of power, we all have a role to play in holding those in authority accountable. Now, let's not forget the real heroes of this story, Parker and Travis. In the face of intimidation and abuse, they stood tall, refusing to let a corrupt cop push them around. They knew their rights, and they weren't afraid to fight for them. In a world where justice can sometimes feel like a distant dream, they remind us that the truth will always prevail. So, the next time you hear about a genius suspect outsmarting corrupt cops, remember this story. Remember that even in the darkest of times, some will shine a light on injustice. And remember that no matter how powerful the corrupt may seem, they will always be brought down by the power of truth and justice. Now, if you thought the last story was wild, get ready for this one. A 15-year-old kid outsmarts a bunch of cops. Yeah, you heard that right. So, it all went down on September 29th. The cops thought they were going to arrest this guy named Michael Frenick. Why? Because his son, Jack, was causing a ruckus in the neighborhood with his gas-powered bike. Now, we get it, annoying neighbors isn't cool, but what happened next is a whole different level of crazy. Now, the neighbors, understandably, weren't thrilled about this gas-powered bike and threatened the kid. That's when Michael steps in, and before you know it, he's in a heated argument with the neighbors. Next thing you know, someone's calling the cops, claiming that Jack's dad had a weapon stuffed down his pants. Talk about drama. When the cops showed up, things went from bad to worse real quick. Michael, being the stand-up guy he is, was not having any of it. He asks for their names and badge numbers, and they just brush him off. Things start heating up when they start grilling him about some incident he knows nothing about. And guess what? They don't like it when he refuses to budge. Then, out of nowhere, things got physical. The officers decided they've had enough and try to haul Michael out of his house despite him being harmless. But that's not all. They go ahead and tase him, all while he's just standing there minding his own business. Can you imagine? He hadn't even done anything wrong. Thankfully, Jack was recording everything on his phone. But of course, one of the cops tries to put a stop to it. But Jack's too smart for that. He knows his rights, and he's not backing down. But here's where things take a really dark turn. The cops decide to take Jack's dad away, and in the process, they rough him up. And when Jack tries to speak up, they shut him down. Now, you'd think that'd be the end of it, right? Wrong. The cops decide they're not done causing trouble. They threaten Jack with juvenile court, hoping to scare him into silence. But Jack knows they're bluffing because he's got 0 charges against him. Here's the twist. After all that drama, it turns out Michael actually has a concealed carry permit. So technically, he's allowed to have a gun as long as he's not brandishing it like a cowboy. And guess what? Nobody said he was. So what do the cops have on him? Nothing. But did that stop them from trying to cover their tracks? Nope. They decide to spin a tale out of thin air since there was no real crime to pin on Michael. Like, seriously. Well, karma's a you-know-what. Officer Rodriguez gets hit with 5 violations, including misusing a taser on Michael, while Officer Thor gets slapped with 3 violations. And that's not all. Both of them get the boot from their jobs. But the story doesn't end there. Oh no, Michael's not one to let injustice slide. He files a lawsuit seeking over $1 million in damages. And you know what? He deserves every penny for the hell those cops put him through. This whole mess just goes to show you what happens when just anyone can become a cop. It's like they think they're above the law or something. But guess what? They're not. It's a wake-up call to hold those in power accountable for their actions, no matter who they are. So next time you see those red and blue lights flashing in your rearview mirror, just remember this story, and maybe, just maybe, it'll give you the courage to stand up for what's right, even when the odds are stacked against you. But hey, not all cops are bad. There are plenty of good ones out there doing their jobs the right way. But it's the bad apples like Rodriguez and Thor that give the whole bunch a bad name. Now, we want to hear your thoughts. What do you think about all of this? Do you think the cops got what they deserved? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button and also subscribe to our channel for more.